Welcome to the Daily MBA, where business wisdom is served fresh and fast, straight from one of the top MBA programs in the world. I'll give you summaries of my lectures and readings, as well as the most important insights gained from an MBA, so you can apply all of this knowledge in every business. Let's get started. On today's episode, I'll continue giving you many options of sources of possible strategic advantages, or how we called them last time, the PPDs. Because these are going to be all of the sources that are going to give you a persistent productivity difference over time. So, first one that I'm bringing up today is going to be strategic fit. And what is a strategic fit? It's going to be a bundle of activities that's going to increase all of your added value. And this one's going to be very important because rivals don't want to copy it or can't copy it because that would imply for them to create architectural changes. So for this, let's imagine one of the low-cost airlines. What are they doing today? For example, Ryanair. They only fly to specific airports at specific times. They're charging little or like almost no money for their flights. I once bought a Ryanair ticket that cost me $12, and this was a 3 hours flight. So they have a really important sustainable strategic advantage here. And why are they doing all of this? Because their strategic fit is very well done. So if a big company like Air Canada, Air France tried copying them, they wouldn't be able to replicate it because they would just be able to take some of their parts. We're going to fly it at this time. We're going to reduce costs. We're going to charge for the bags. But that wouldn't give them the entire strategy, because what happens is that they bundled up all of these activities that they're doing it together, and bundled is how they make sense, and it's how they are creating all of this added value. If we just took the separate parts of charging little money, charging extra for bags, charging extra for printing your tickets, stuff like this, that wouldn't be of any use for any big airline. So all of this are going to be related to strategic complementarities because these are going to increase the value added even after rivals react. And this is going to ensure that you have your PPDs because even after rivals react, they won't be able to copy you or they don't even want to do it. So how can you implement your strategic fit? That will be 3 steps. First, you have to identify a fundamental way in which firms create value. Then, you have to catalog the activities that are going to produce the value. And lastly, you have to identify the costs and the willingness to pay. This is what Ryanair did, and that's why they have such a good strategic fit. Because they created value in a very specific way and cataloged all of the activities that produced value for consumers, and after that, they already identified their costs and the willingness to pay, lowering this ones as much as possible. So this is going to be one of the strategies that people can use. A second and most popular one, because this word you've been hearing it all around the business environment, is differentiation. But what we have to know is that there are 2 types of differentiation. First, you would find horizontal differentiation, which are going to be the differences in the product or services but are related to the preferences. So even if priced the same, a person would choose only by their personal likes, their preferences, what it tastes for them, their location, their attributes. So these are going to be subjective differences. And the perfect example is Coca-Cola and Pepsi. They cost the same. Why do people decide to buy one over the other? One of the biggest mysteries. People are loving Coca-Cola and won't even switch to Pepsi or the other way around. But they are really costing the same. So it's not a big price differentiation. The other possible differentiation that we could do would be a vertical differentiation. And now here we will have price involved because in this type of differentiation, the vertical one, you're going to have a difference in the perceived quality of any product. So if 2 things were priced equally, all the consumers, of course, would undoubtedly prefer the high quality one. And for this, we can think of, for example, a very luxurious hotel like the Ritz, and it's located downtown, spectacular locations always, pretty, everything's perfect, versus, let's say, a Holiday Inn, which is usually on the outskirts of town. It's kind of far from other places, but it's very convenient and it's very cheap. So, which of the two hotels would you stay in if they would cost the same? Of course, in the Ritz. But here, consumers are going to start differentiating according to their willingness to pay for quality. For me, like if I'm not looking for a luxury hotel, I'm going to pay the Holiday Inn. But there's people that do like paying for this luxury things. So in the vertical differentiation, you'll have people that are going to show their willingness to pay for quality. And these ones are going to be perceived differences in the quality. So you will find that most companies have differentiation trade-offs. Some firms are going to struggle between being located where the demand is, or where maybe a monopolist would be, versus not being where their rivals are. So sometimes competition may be so fierce that you just want to run away from that competition because it's going to push you into a price war. And so this is going to be one awful thing. And what you can take away from this is that differentiation is not always optimal, and it is going to be costly because for differentiating, you might have to do something that you didn't originally wanted to do, but because rivals are forcing you to lower prices or to produce this way, you'll have to do it differently than what you were intending to do. So you're going to have these two types of differentiation, but they're always going to be one of the possibilities for being where the demand is. If you want to be in the center of demand where all of the players are, including rivals, you'll have to incur in one of these two. But what if you want to, let's say, escape the rivals and you don't really want to do it? One of them would be minimizing differentiation. And so, what can we good with this one? And so, let's analyze the two main options that you may have. One of them would be to maximize differentiation. As a pro, over here you'll be able to reduce the price competition that you have, but one of the cons is that you're going to be destroying value. Because if you maximize differentiation, you probably won't be able to do what you were willing to do. This is going to destroy a little bit of the value that you wanted to add. But on the other side, if you minimize differentiation, a pro of this, it's that you're going to be able to steal customers from your competitors. Because if you look almost the same, you're not differentiating yourself, you might also steal from competitors. The cons over here is that it's going to be a price war. And this is only a useful strategy when you have fixed prices. For example, when you're filling up gas. All of the gas stations are going to be the exact same, and they're minimizing differentiation because they're trying to steal customers within each other all the time. But what this leads is to a price war where they can't even make a profit, right? The only difference between one gas station to another, it's just going to be 1 cent or a couple cents. So this is not going to be a very useful thing. But minimizing differentiation might be good if you want to steal customers from any other competitor. If you want to escape from them, you would have to maximize differentiation, but this is going to be costly. So what other thing can we do? Because differentiation, what I was telling you, will usually have you producing something that you don't want to do. We can do two things. One of them, it's going to be something that you've seen with Starbucks or McDonald's, and this is called market flooding. So if a firm can know that there are many rivals coming, it can get multiple differentiated products or locations to deter entry. And this is only going to be useful if the cost of flooding the market is going to be smaller than the cost of competing against other markets. But this is one strategy that Starbucks does, for example, and they place one Starbucks in front of another Starbucks and then one 2 blocks away, and then one 5 blocks away. So they're flooding the market so much because for them, it's cheaper to do that, to open up all of the stores and take up all of the market than competing with any other rival that could arrive, and maybe Dunkin' Donuts or something like that could try to take away their coffee customers, their bread customers. So Starbucks is one perfect example of market flooding. But then the second thing that you could do is seek a better strategy, because differentiating will often lower the value creation because of what I was saying. It's going to force you to produce something that you don't want to produce. And so you should be able to restrain competition without wasting, let's say, this surplus. And what is this going to be? It's similar to something that is illegal, price collusion, but tacit collusion is this thing that I'm going to suggest, and tacit collusion is not illegal. This is going to happen when there's an understanding of the shared economic interests among firms, and this is going to lead to higher prices. So collusion means I am able to act as one firm when it comes to added value. And this is going to be crucial because collusion will reduce competition against me and will increase my added value. The thing is, it's very hard to maintain collusive agreements because of the prisoner's dilemma and other concepts that I've explained in game theory before. But you may find pricing strategies that are going to work as if you had collusion. So, one of them, it's going to be a price match guarantee, and this is one that always you will find in all the Best Buys. And what is this technique? Basically, a price match guarantee means that if a rival cuts his prices, so if Amazon starts selling some widget by a lower price, then Best Buy, it's also going to lower it. So the firm with the price match guarantee will also be able to sell at the same level. And so what is this doing? It's avoiding companies to actually lower their prices, because this price cuts won't going to bring any significant sales. It's just going to make it worse for all the players in the market, except for consumers. But so when you see a price match guarantee, it's not actually protecting you, but protecting all the firms against their rivals. Because if one of them acts, we're all going down. We'll all consider the same amount of sales. Then, a second pricing technique that is going to act as collusion, it's going to be the most favored customer clause. And so these clauses are going to guarantee a customer that he or she will receive the best price available. And this is going to act similar to what we would said. It will discourage sellers from offering lower prices, because if someone offers lowers, then they are also going to get it lower. So all of these strategies are actually protecting the market from someone lowering the costs. A third one may be loyalty pricing. And so you may think loyalties are great. I have all of these loyalty cards, and well, that is the case. You're getting better discounts, but that's also kind of locking you in to buying with one company. In this consumer lock-in, where you are incentivized to stay with this particular seller, it's actually giving you high switching costs, because I'm already subscribed to Uber. I don't want to switch to Lyft. I always want to maintain my low prices in Uber. This is a technique, because the high switching costs are going to make rivals stay away from your customers and vice versa. Like Lyft is not going to be worried about getting me as a customer, let's say if I'm loyal with Uber, because I'm already with Uber. So they can stick with their customers. Uber will stick with me and the rest of the customers. So let's say this is kind of putting a line between the customers, and so companies can decide who is going to belong to them. And so this will allow them to give them discounts, but will also reduce the competition against, because you're not going to be fighting between companies to decide who is going to be getting each consumer. And lastly, this one's one of the best things that any company could aim to do, and it's algorithmic pricing. and this is related to algorithms that can lead to prices that adjust in response to competitors' pricing. So this results in similar prices for all, and is something that most airline companies are doing, for example, because now with Kayak or Skyscanner, you can search for airplane tickets, and this is showing you all the possible prices that you have in the moment. So if you can see all of them, companies can keep updating it to stay similar to their rivals. So all of this algorithmic pricing, basically what it's doing, it's reacting instantly to every competitor's price, which is also good, and it's going to deter all of the competition from others. So as you're seeing, as a buyer, you're usually facing all of these pricing strategies that companies are using for stopping their rivals, but not really for giving you these things. So how can, on the other end, for example, suppliers, they can prevent these things? First, they can set up standardized quotes. So a buyer can make it easier for more vendors to bid on a contract, and that's going to increase the competition against the sellers. Also, the second thing is going to recruit additional vendors that are going to bid for that. So bringing in more people into the bidding process, it's actually going to increase the competition. As I was showing you on my last episode, having more people is going to increase that competition and will lead to better prices. Third, you should avoid switching costs that lock you into something, so you can retain the flexibility to switch to vendors and create competitive pricing. And lastly, you should have transparent contract terms. These are going to prevent all the secret deals that might create collusion, which is the illegal one, not tacit collusion. So I hope this was clear, and I'm going to send a link on my notes so you can also check that out if any of the concepts is still unclear. I'll see you next week.